Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasadi Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Panch Tattva Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol.
Thank you, Pratik, for taking us through. While you're there, just give us a quick darshan of the deities also, in case the deities altar is open.
Sure, Prabhu, just a second.
So this is Pratik. Wow, beautiful, small, mini altar. Send me a couple of photos of this altar.
Sure,
These are
Prabhu.
Pancha Tattva deities. He's in Newcastle, in UK. So he's now working in UK. And so it's good that he's living in the temple actually and going to work. So every day, every Saturday, we are getting an opportunity to hear from the temple in Newcastle. Thank you, Pratik. And
Thank you,
again,
Prabhu.
Pratik lost his grandfather, that's Prabha's father, around 20 days ago. They're all now getting slowly settled back into life. Welcome, Pratik, and thank you, Prabha. Hare Krishna. And welcome to many of you who are on the forum today. Thank you. And as usual, this is getting recorded. Forgive me that last week, as we were doing a program at Expo 2020 as ISKCON on a vegetarian week, I had to be present there. That was the opening day on Saturday last week. I had to be present there, so I missed it. Today, actually, they're having a big party celebrating the performance by all the youth of ISKCON, but I did not want to miss the class. So I'm staying back with all of you, missing the party. This is a greater party. So let's get on to the session. We have completed till chapters 10 and we are starting from chapter 11. And so let's get on. I'll give you a lot of stories that are there that can explain to you about the various aspects before we really get into the subject. But before we do that, just wanted to again brush up what was covered in the earlier the chapter 10, just to say that before I start, oh Magyana Timin. Okay, let me share the screen. I haven't done that. Just give me a second. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dhinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Going on from the ninth chapter, just to say as a summary of chapter 10, Lord Krishna at the end of ninth chapter, Bhagavad Gita has got 18 chapters, and the middle 6 chapters, that is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, are supposed to be very confidential part of Bhagavad Gita, and within that, the ninth chapter is considered to be the most confidential. The 10th continues to be confidential, as Krishna explains as opulences. Opulences means he explains all his unique Aishwarya, as we say. He explains all of them. And so, at the end of the ninth chapter, he advises Arjuna, fix your mind upon me. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. And then Krishna then describes his opulences on which the devotee can fix his mind and how to remember it. Because Krishna has told, fix your mind upon me. Now Arjuna says, okay, can you tell me how all can I think of you? Then Arjuna asks him various questions, and then Krishna then explains and describes various ways by which you can think about him. But directly thinking about Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ultimate. But to get more and more, Arjuna was asking some questions. Then, in the conclusion of 9th chapter, Krishna said that one should become a pure devotee of the Lord by focusing mind on the Lord. And chapter 10 brings that focus on description of Krishna's opulences, and by hearing which we can increase in devotion. And we covered various aspects. The chapter 10 had 3 major sections. In 1 to 7, Krishna's position as the origin of everything is being described. Then was his 4 most important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita called the Chatushloki, came about in verses 8, 9, 10 and 11. They're very, very important verses of the Bhagavad Gita chapter 10. So they're called Chatushloki. In 4 shlokas, the whole of Bhagavad Gita's crux is put into these 4 shlokas. And even these 4 shlokas tell us how we should learn how to devote our lives to Krishna and how to surrender to Krishna, think of Krishna at all times, worship him. Then Arjuna says, oh Krishna, I accept what you say, but can you tell me more about all your opulences? That is when Krishna then starts to list all his opulences. Krishna says very clearly, I can't tell you all because my opulences are uncountable, infinite. But he lists around 82 opulences here. He says, I am this, I am that, and various things. I'll just give you a quick summary of the opulences that Krishna described here. And this would come in, closer to verse 40. Just give me 1 second. In one synopsis, you'll be able to see all the opulences. Krishna says that I am this among the demigods. I am this among the sages. I am this among the demigods. And out of the animals, I am this. Out of law and crime, about qualities. So Krishna explains all of these aspects. That is, if you see beauty somewhere, if you see strength somewhere, you can think of Krishna. If you hear about Agni, if you know about Brahma, he says, I'm Brahma amongst the creators. So Krishna is giving so many more things for us to think about as to who he is. And so this is Krishna's unlimited opulences. That was the summary. That was the title also of chapter 10. Then Krishna comes on to these very special shlokas that I'll quickly take you on to verse 40, 41, 42, just to give you a summary here. So in verse 40, Krishna says, Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa esha tu uddeshata prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there's no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. So it's just a mere small indication. But I am unlimited. In the next verse he says, Yadhyat vibhutimat sattvam shrimat urjitamevava tattadeva avagachatvam mama tejo amsha sambhavam. This word amsha is very important here. Amsha means just a fragment, Krishna says. All of this that you're seeing is just a fragment of my opulences. So he says, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor, just a small amsha. So that's what Krishna says. He's already giving 82 list of 82 things by seeing which you can understand the opulences of Krishna. And Krishna then says, all that is just a fraction of who I am. Atava bahunetena kimyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all these detailed knowledge? You don't need all these detailed knowledge. Too much technicality, right? He says, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The entire universe and a whole bunch of universes are just completely sustained and maintained. Everything I do by just a fragment of myself, by just a fragment of myself. Sometimes I may be a very, very successful businessman, but that businessman spends so much time in his business, spends so many hours every day in the office to manage and maintain and all the politics within his own company and things like that. And sometimes we may do various things, and even a housewife thinks that, oh, I'm doing so much at home, I have to cook, I have to do this, I have to do that. So much time goes, but Krishna says, by a fragment of his capabilities, he's managing this entire universe, the entire creation. So that's very, very important. And this is the last verse of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And so Krishna is called Asamordhva. Asamordhva means there is no one superior or no one equal. Asama Urdhva. Sama means equal, Urdhva means greater. So Krishna is indicating that there is no one greater than or equal to me. So this is very, very important, and Krishna explains his opulences. So pure devotees therefore concentrate their minds on Krishna consciousness in full devotional service, and they are always situated in the transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 through 11, and that's the way of pure devotional service. How can one attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. So then he says, this is important. From Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power. And Lord Krishna's partial expansion, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Krishna is worshipable. So this is just a closure of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Today, we are getting to the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Many of us have heard about it as a universal form, Vishwarupa. And many people think Vishwarupa is the ultimate form of the Lord. When they see Lord Krishna in his two-handed form, very simple, with just a morpunk and with a flute and dancing around with the gopis, they cannot think about him as God. They want to see something exceptional to understand that somebody is God. So they want to see the universal form. Many people think universal form is ultimate. So today we are getting into this particular aspect. As we go on, we'll cover a few parts from the universal form, and I'll go to a few interesting stories around the universal form, and then we will move on into various other aspects. So let me just quickly close this file and open another file, which is the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And as we get on onto the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that you can see on the screen, you see the picture here is that of Krishna Arjuna here, Krishna here, and what you see behind is the universal form of the Lord with multiple hands and with so many faces. We'll see better pictures as we go, right? So this again we are covering from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as a summary. And what is chapter 11 actually saying? The last version of chapter 10 that we just covered says, by a single fragment of myself I pervade and support the entire universe. Now Arjuna says, I wish to see all that pervasive form of the Lord. You have described about them, but I want to see. Arjuna says, I want to see. Some people think seeing is believing, right? But it's not true. So sometimes some people may say, show me God and I'll believe it. But then Arjuna actually is a very close friend of Krishna. We say that Arjuna begins the sampradaya of the Bhagavad Gita, means he is the main guru through whom, through him, only we get this benediction of knowing what Bhagavad Gita is. So it's not that Arjuna does not know who Krishna is, but Arjuna is still asking all of these questions for our benefit, because Arjuna wants the whole world to understand the various aspects of philosophy in a thorough way. So although Krishna is driving Arjuna's chariot, he pervades and supports the entire universe. It looks like Krishna is just driving the chariot in the battlefield. However, Krishna is supporting the entire universe, even as he's doing that. And Arjuna therefore wishes to see Krishna's all-pervading form. Arjuna requests Krishna to reveal his universal form. And Krishna describes his universal form and provides vision to Arjuna in this chapter. Arjuna beholds Krishna's universal form with astonishment. He's just in total awe and reverence and surprise at seeing the universal form of the Lord. Hesitatingly, he begins to describe what he sees. He's not even able to describe it. How can he describe the universal form of the Lord, which is magnanimous? Arjuna is trembling. He prays to Krishna, and Krishna's universal form, and begs of his forgiveness for having previously acted in ignorance. Many times, Arjuna said, I've dealt with you like a friend, as a relative, as just my peer. But in actuality, you are the Supreme Lord. So he then begs of forgiveness for acting in ignorance. And he requests Krishna, finally, to withdraw his universal form and show his two-handed form. Krishna has been in front of him always as a friend in his two-handed form. But Arjuna wanted to see Krishna's Vishwarupa. And then he's not able to withstand that form. And then he asks and begs Krishna, please come back to your universe, your simple Saumya Vapu, it's a simple two-handed form as Krishna, as we see. Okay, so that's very important. Krishna in between shows him the four-handed form also as Vishnu. So from a universal form, he comes down to a four-handed form and then comes down to the two-handed form, which is his original personalities. So actually speaking, for devotees who understand what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there is no need for us to endeavor to see the universal form of Krishna, which we cannot see and behold. We need to understand Krishna as he is. Bhaktyatu ananya shakya aham evam vidorjana yatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Krishna says, by bhakti I can be known as I am. And as I am standing before you, you should know me as the Supreme. That's the ultimate conclusion here. So let's get on to a few other aspects. Then we'll go to the shlokas. What this chapter 11 covers. Chapter 11, again, is a long chapter. It's going to take us many, even the shlokas are long in this particular chapter. It's going to take us many weeks to cover. At least I presume it will be 5-6 weeks for us to cover this without interruption if we are going. Now, 55 verses in this chapter. Not one of the biggest, but still in terms of each shloka is double the size of a normal shloka. Okay, you'll see it as we go through after some verses. You will see from 9th verse onwards, you'll see long, big verses. That is, each verse will be four lines. So, okay, so this chapter is going to take long. So the 55 chapters divided into 5 sections. The first section covers shlokas 1 to 8. And then 1 to 8, Arjuna, after hearing the 9th chapter and the 10th chapter, he is now requesting Krishna, hey Krishna, now that you have described all the opulences, you have also given me a description of a universal form. Can you please show me the universal form? He's asking. So, and then Krishna then, in his own words, describes briefly what his universal form is. And then, when Krishna is showing the universal form, Sanjaya is seeing the universal form, and Sanjaya is chanting all the shlokas as to what he is seeing on the battlefield. Who is Sanjaya? Sanjaya is the chariot driver of Dhritarashtra, or sorry, Sanjaya is the close associate of Dhritarashtra, but he's been given very special eyes to see the universal form of Lord sitting, because Dhritarashtra is not able to come to the battlefield. He wants to have live telecast of what is happening. So Sanjaya has been given that divine eyes by the Lord, and Sanjaya is then explaining everything as a running commentary of what is happening. And so this universal form, the main shlokas are all coming from Sanjaya's mouth. And then Krishna says, Kalosmi lokakshayakrit, time I am, and become my instrument. I am time, because time takes on everything. Time is death. Time takes over everything. He says, you become my instrument. Don't be talking too much. Don't be thinking about too many things. Become my instrument. Become a tool in my hand. Follow my instructions and do. Become a puppet. We all should learn how to become a puppet to follow the instructions of Krishna. And that's the important instruction of Krishna that we will all realize later. And then after seeing that, Arjuna then prays to Krishna. And Arjuna's prayers are covered by 11 shlokas. And then finally, there's a whole description that says, this particular form, Vishwarupa form, is not something that everybody can see. But Krishna is explaining that even if the Vishwarupa form, others have seen it, and I'm going to explain various stories how Vishwarupa form has been seen by others too. But Krishna's two-armed form, Saumya Vapu, as Krishna, as he is, cannot be seen by everybody. And this is the supreme form. Krishna brings it after showing Vishwarupa form to his two-handed form. And that is why we say that let us not think that the Vishwarupa is ultimate, but the two-handed form of Krishna, the beautiful form of Krishna holding his flute, is the ultimate. And the Tribhanga form means a threefold bending posture. He's bent at his knee, he's bent at his hip, and he's bent with his arms holding the flute. If you see Krishna's photo, he's bent in three forms, so he's called Tribhanga. So that form of Krishna with the flute is the ultimate form, Sham Sundar form, that we will all realize later as we go. Before we go into the section A into detail, I would like to go into the synonyms and the acronyms for covering this particular chapter. Just give me a minute and we will get to the acronyms, and sometimes it will help you understand it easily. Okay. Rupa, Vishwarupa. Vishwa means whole world, universe. Rupa means a form. One of the biggest theological debates among great thinkers has gone on for centuries. The question over whether God is personal or impersonal. Some argue that accepting a personal form of God amounts to anthropomorphic projection of our qualities unto him. Anthropomorphic projection of our qualities unto him means, because we are human beings, we sometimes apply our qualities and say he is God. So it is a form created by man, imagined by man, is the sort of a way that many times many people project. However, Krishna, confirms in numerous passages of Bhagavad Gita that he manifests in many ways, impersonally and personally. He also categorically states that the personal is the original form and the basis of the impersonal. Brahmano hi pratishto aham. The impersonal form is established by me. Krishna says, Brahman, which is called the impersonal form, Brahmano hi pratishta aham. I have established the Brahman conception also. The impersonal form comes out of me, Krishna says. Then, this is further confirmed in this chapter after Krishna displays another of his innumerable forms known as the Vishwarupa universal form. So, the acronyms used here are Rupa. R for request. Arjuna is first requesting Krishna. Please, Krishna, show me your form. And then the universal form is shown by Krishna. And then the prayers of Arjuna. Arjuna surrenders to the universal form. And then the two-armed form, okay, is the armed form, the two-armed form, coming back to just the simple two-armed form as Krishna. So, in the first section, so where we say Rupa, so that there is Arjuna requests to see the universal form. And one may ask why he makes such a request. Since he can see Krishna and he is completely satisfied, In the previous chapter, Arjuna said, I am completely satisfied. Clearly, Arjuna doesn't have any personal agenda in seeing the universal form, but he requests the vision for other reasons, for others, for other purposes. He wants to see the universal form. Because Krishna has told him who he is, Arjuna has accepted that he is God. But he is still asking for the universal form to be seen, which is not the ultimate. And what are the reasons? Firstly, he wants to prove without doubt Krishna's position as the source of everything. That Krishna is even the source of Vishnu. Krishna is even the source of the Vishwarupa form. He wants to show that. Then, secondly, set a standard for anyone in the future who claims to be God to show similar opulence. We'll come to that part in the story too. Because many times there are many people hovering around in this world. There is Kalki Bhagavan, and there are so many other Babas all around, and people claim themselves to be God. Huh? All these people, sometimes there are so many hundreds and thousands of self-proclaimed gods in India. They would like to be easily called God and just want to be, subduing others and get the money of others and do something. We know so many of these gods who have been arrested at so many times. There's Nityananda, all these are real crackpot ones. And there was a Sardarji in, I don't know where, whichever part in North India, who got arrested recently. All these people are just want to, take the misplaced, I would say, reverence upon them and misuse it to proclaim themselves as God and take over all the wealth and the assets of all their followers. And that's completely wrong. So Arjuna, to set this example, if you are God, if you claim to be God, show me the Vishwarupa form, and we'll come to that very soon. Then, unfortunately, our modern world is nevertheless plagued with so-called incarnations and godmen claiming to be the latest saviors of society by dint of the fact that they have mustered up some popularity or mastered a few magic tricks. You just do some magic and bring some vibhuti or bring this and bring that, and he saved my health, he did this, he did that. People just get mesmerized and people don't know what to do. So we need to be careful about this particular aspect. Now let's move on to the universal form. And as we start, we'll at least cover a few shlokas, after which I'll go to various stories today. Yeah. So in this chapter, again, as usual, I will chant the verses in Sanskrit. You can all unmute yourself and you can chant behind me as I chant the verses. Then we'll go word to word meaning. By the word to word meaning, if you're all attentive, you can even start learning Sanskrit in the process. As I read, we read together. All of us are reading. There's a wonderful reading and a little more in-depth study that we will do. But every one of you should read it. It's a homework for all of you. Read the shloka. Read each of the verses, each of the word that Krishna is saying. So you'll start in the process learning so many Sanskrit words. You'll see commonality with your language, whatever it may be, whether it's Hindi or Tamil or Malayalam or whatever. You'll see so many words that are used across in all languages. So by that, we'll see the synonyms, then we'll see a translation, and we'll go into a purport, which is a commentary on that verse. When it comes to purport, I will request everybody to read the verses. So that's how we will go. Let's start off with chapter 11. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Madanugrahaya Paramam.
Madanugrahaya Paramam.
Guhyam Adhyatma Sangitam.
Guhyam Adhyatma Sanjitam.
Yat Tvayoktam Vachastena.
Vachastena.
Mohoyam Vigato Mama.
Mohoyam Vigato Mama.
Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Mad Anugrahaya. Just to show me favor. Mat means me. Anugraha. Anugraha means to show me favor. Oh Krishna, you have told me all this to show me favor. You are present before me to show me your favor. So Krishna is showing his kripa, his karunya, his mercy, his favor. So Mad Anugrahaya. Paramam, supreme. Guhyam, confidential subject. You have covered and told me and spoken the 9th chapter and the 10th chapter, which is very, very confidential, to benedict me, to favor me, Krishna. You have told all this. Now he says, Adhyatma, spiritual, Samyitam, in the matter of Yat, what? Tvaya, by you. Hey Krishna, you have told me all that. Uktam, said. Yeah? Then Vachaha, words. Tena, by that. Mohaha, illusion. I am. This. Vigataha, is removed. Mama, my. To clear all the illusion that I have, you have given me the spiritual, the confidential spiritual knowledge to bless me, to benedict me. Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions, you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects. My illusion has now been dispelled. So, to dispel my illusion, you have given me all this knowledge. And he says, my illusion is now dispelled. I agree you are God. By your mercy, you have told me. And when you have given me these confidential spiritual subjects, my doubts, my illusion has all gone away. Later on also again he says, Nashto mohaha smritir labdhva tvat prasadan mayachyuta. Nashto mohaha. I have lost all my illusion. Later, some other time also he says, we'll come to that later. Okay? But here he says, my illusion has now been dispelled by hearing the 9th and 10th chapter that you have spoken. Hey Krishna. So this is very, very important. So if we are all hearing Bhagavad Gita, then it is meant to dispel our illusion. And dispelling illusion means we understand who am I, that I am a servant of Krishna. I understand who is Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I should do service to Krishna. If we come to that platform, then we can say that our illusion has been dispelled also. So let's get on to the purport, and somebody can read the purport, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, my dear.
This chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. He is even the cause of the Mahavishnu, from whom the material universe emanates. Krishna is not an incarnation. He is the source of all incarnations. That has been completely explained in the last chapter. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he says that his illusion is over. This means that Arjuna no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but as the source of everything. Arjuna is very enlightened and is glad that he has such a great friend as Krishna. But now he is thinking that although he may accept Krishna as the source of everything, others may not. So, in order to establish Krishna's divinity for all, he is requesting Krishna in this chapter to show his universal form. Actually, when one sees the universal form of Krishna, one becomes frightened, like Arjuna. But Krishna is so kind that after showing it, he converts himself again into his original form. Arjuna agrees to what Krishna has several times said. Krishna is speaking to him just for his benefit. So Arjuna acknowledges that all this is happening to him by Krishna's grace. He is now convinced that Krishna is the cause of all causes and is present in everyone's heart as Super Soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So very important. So this chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. Means Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of creation. He is the cause of maintenance. He is the cause of destruction. He is the cause of Brahma. He is the cause of Shiva. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sanga Padakarmopanishadi Gayantiyam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yogino Yasyantam Navidusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. This is a prayer, especially. So, by all. And here he says he is the cause of all causes. He is even the cause of Mahavishnu, from whom the material universe is emanate. We covered in the last class that there are three types of Vishnus, Mahavishnu, from whom all the material universes emanate, and then you have the other two Vishnus, Garbhodakashayi and the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So Krishna is not an incarnation. He is the source of all incarnations. So he is called an avatari. He is the avatari. Etecha amsakalapumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Srimad Bhagavatam describes 24 expansions of Krishna. But he says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality. So he is not called an incarnation. He is called the source of incarnation. So he is not just an avatar. He is called the avatari. So this has been explained already. Now Arjuna has said already and declared it personally that my moha, my illusion is gone. But still he wants to now, he's setting the scene to ask Krishna, please Krishna, show me your, he's begging of Krishna. If you so desire Krishna, please show me your Vishwarupa form. And that is what he's coming to. Let's go to the presentation and then we'll move on to the purport. Just 1 second. Where is my presentation? Oh, sorry. Not that. So, we just covered this particular part. Yeah. So, the section A is where we are coming in. This is the first verse that we just covered. So, by hearing everything that Krishna has said, Arjuna's illusion is removed. And what is the effect of hearing the most confident knowledge? When Arjuna has heard it, what is the benefit and what is the effect of what he's got? Why did then now Arjuna, the effect was all illusion is dispelled. Krishna says all my illusion is dispelled. What is illusion? How is the illusion dispelled? Krishna recognizes by power of Krishna's grace by which the illusion is dispelled. It's only by Krishna's mercy his illusion is dispelled. And what is that illusion that got dispelled? That Krishna is an ordinary friend or an ordinary human being. Many of us think, oh, he's just an ordinary man, right? Blue boy. So even Arjuna possibly thought about like that. That illusion is dispelled. Now he understands that Krishna is, Krishna's supremacy over all is revealed in this chapter. And this particular chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. He's the cause of material nature. He's the cause of living entities. He's the cause of all the devatas, called the demigods, cause of all the incarnations, even of Krishna, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsingha, Vamana, etc. And he's also the cause of Mahavishnu. So Arjuna understands all this. And why now Krishna is requesting, Arjuna is requesting for all this? Okay? This will be described a little more as we read the purport in 11.3. Before we go on to the second verse, let's get on again to the shloka. Right. Again, you can unmute yourself. Avapyayau hi bhutanam
Bhutanam
Shrutau vistarasho maya
Shomaya
Tattva kamalapatraksha Mahatmyam api chavyayam.
Mahatmyam apichavyam.
You see the verses are big here. You see the translations are also coming in 4 lines compared to what it was. The words are a little bigger. In fact, the later verses are even bigger. Okay. Bhava means the appearance. Apyayau means the disappearance. Appearance and disappearance of all living entities. He, certainly, Bhutanam, of all living entities. Shrutau, have been heard. Oh Krishna, you already explained about the appearance and disappearances of all the creation, and the universes too. Vistarashaha. Vistaraha means in detail. Maya, by me. Tattvataha, from you. I have heard it. From whom? From you in Tattva. Kamalapatraksha, hey, that's Krishna's name. Kamalaksha, Kamalapatraksha. Aksha means the eyes, Meenakshi. Aksha means the eyes. Kamalapatra means the lotus-eyed one. So Krishna is called here as the lotus-eyed one. Mahatmyam, glories. Api, also. Cha, and Avyayam, inexhaustible. Your glories are inexhaustible. Hey Krishna, you have yourselves told me in the 10th chapter, verse 16, Krishna is already told Arjuna that my glories are inexhaustible. I cannot explain everything to you, Arjuna, but I'll give you a synopsis. And then he lists these 82 verses, the 82 things that we can think about as soon as we see or we perceive, we can think about Krishna. So Arjuna says this, O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. In the 9th and 10th chapter, you told me so much. I've realized them. So let's get on now. Somebody can read the purport. It's a small one.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus eye. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower out of his joy. For Krishna has assured him in a previous chapter, Aham Kritsanasya Jagataha Prabhavaha Paralayas Pralayas Tatha. I am the source of the appearance and disappearance of this entire material manifestation. Arjuna has heard of this form, the Lord, in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he is aloof from them. As the Lord has said in the 9th chapter, he is all-pervading, yet he is not personally present everywhere. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjuna admits that he has thoroughly understood.
There's one other significance here. Thank you. You know, the Kamala Patra means the lotus leaf is so oily that when water falls on it, you know, the water never sticks on. It just falls off. So the Lord is there. We as living entities are there and our life is fickle, so it can fall off. But the Lord is unattached to his own creation. He is there, he has created it all, he is in everything, but he is still aloof from it, is what is being told here. Okay? So let's get on to the text 2. So the Arjuna is calling Krishna as Kamala Patraksha. Every name of Krishna that Arjuna calls has got a particular purpose why that name is fitting in there. Similarly, when Krishna is calling Arjuna as Parantapa, as whatever, there's a particular purpose why Krishna wants to also call Arjuna by different names so that Arjuna feels confident at different times as to what Krishna is telling him. Right? And then Krishna has already explained in the past that he is the source of all creation, maintenance, and destruction in verses 7:6 and 7:7. And then he says he is still aloof, inconceivable. And inconceivable opulence have been explained in verses 9, 4, and 5. I'll quickly read those two verses for you. Verses 7:6 and 7:7. He says, Etad yonini bhutani sarvani tyupadaraya aham kritsnasya jagataha pralayah prabhava pralayastata. All created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution of everything. Krishna says, Prabhavaha pralayaha tata. Pralaya means we know destruction. Prabhavaha means I am the creator and the destroyer. So Krishna says, Prabhavaha aham kritsnasya. Kritsnasya means everything. Jagataha Prabhavaha, the source of manifestation as well as the source of annihilation. The next verse Krishna says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Oh, conqueror of wealth, Kaunteya. He calls Dhananjaya. He calls Arjuna as Dhananjaya here. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So these are verses 7:6 and 7:7. In verses 9:4 and 9:5, what does Krishna say? So in the future, as we all learnt it, we should be able to quickly quote those verses. In 9:4 he says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadav vyaktamurtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. Be by me, in my unmanifest form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Nachamatstani bhutani Pashya me yogamaishwaram bhuta brunna cha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. And yet everything that's created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. I am the source of all creation, but I am not bound by it, and I am not in it. Okay? So I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. He is not a kappa. He is the creator. So he is not the created, and we are all the created. So Krishna explains that situation very clearly. And Arjuna says, Krishna, you are the supreme. I understand what you say. Let's get on to verse number 3 right now. And now slowly Arjuna is beginning to ask Krishna, can you show me that form? Evametat yathathatvam atmanam parameshwara drashtumichhami te rupam aishwaram purushottama. I repeat it again. Evametat yatathatvam atmanam parameshwara drashtumichhami te rupam aishwaryam purushottama. Evam, thus, etat, this, yatha, as it is. Hey Krishna, as you explained, I understand it, but I want to see that as it is. Yatha rup. We say Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita yatha rup. So Krishna is now, Arjuna is saying, yatha, as you explained, I want to see now. Atha, have spoken, as you have spoken. Tvam, you. Atmanam, yourself. Parameshwara, O Supreme Lord. You know, many times we call Shiva as Parameshwara, but Arjuna is calling Krishna as Parameshwara, right? Then he says, Drashtum, to see. Ichchami, I wish. Drashtum, drishti, drasht. Okay, drashtum means I would like to see. Ichchami, I have a ichcha, I have a wish. Te, your, rupam, form. And how is your form? Aishwaryam, Aishwaram, divine form. Hey Purusha Uttama, O best of the personality of Godhead, the supreme personality of Godhead. Hey Krishna, I would like to see that form as you have described all your opulences in the 10th chapter. The 82 things that you explained, I want to see it all together in one form. Krishna, can you show me that form? You see how Arjuna is coming slowly to ask. Let's get to the translation, and there's a very important aspect of the purport here. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position as you are, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So Arjuna says, I'm seeing you, but I would like to see that form that you have described me. Somebody can read the purport, please. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should I take it?
Please.
The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna, but in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Arjuna's addressing the Lord as Purushottama is also significant, since the Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is present within Arjuna himself. Therefore, He knows the desire of Arjuna and he can understand that Arjuna has no special desire to see him in his universal form. For Arjuna is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form of Krishna. But the Lord can understand also that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to convince others. Arjuna did not have any personal desire for confirmation. Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion for in the future there would be so many impostors who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people therefore should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it's very challenging here. So Arjuna says, hey Krishna, I see you, but I want to see you as you explain. And Srila Prabhupada in the commentary writes very beautifully that while Arjuna knows who Krishna is in Tattvataha, but Arjuna is asking this for two reasons, as we already covered while we were talking about the acronyms. One is he wants to show everybody else that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he also wants to challenge those who may think that they are God themselves. So we'll come to this particular two aspects. And after covering verse 4, I'll come back and tell you some stories and tell you about 5 times when Krishna showed his universal form. So in this verse, Arjuna expresses his desire. Now, why is Arjuna requesting Krishna? There are 4 reasons given here. One is to establish Krishna as divinity for all, so that everybody will understand who is Krishna. Point number 1. Number 2, to convince others he does not have any other personal desire. Okay? He is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form as Krishna. But he wants to convince others. And why? It implies that the Lord, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows the heart of Arjuna. Our Lord, because he is sitting within the heart, Kruddeshe Arjuna Tishtati, as Krishna is sitting within the heart of Arjuna, Krishna knows that Arjuna is asking this question for others. Sometimes we ask questions for others' benefit, right? So Arjuna, that is why we say, what is the shloka? Sarvopanishado gavo dhogdha gopalanandana partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta duktam gitamatamate. Partha, Arjuna is like a vatsa, like how the calf is suckling at the teat of the cow, just a little bit so that the cow starts to give milk. It takes it, 1 teat is enough to nourish it, the rest 3 teats for all of us. Similarly, Arjuna is like a calf here, is asking questions on our behalf so that we will benefit by understanding Gita Amritam, by understanding who Krishna is in Tattvataha. The third reason is to avoid imposters. He wants to set a criteria for all in the future, that there will be so many imposters who will pose as incarnations. Today, as I tell you the story, I'll tell you a story of one person who directly asked Krishna, if you are God, show me your form. He challenges Krishna. I will come to that story today. And then Krishna immediately shows him the universal form. Right? Not everybody can ask that. But, if somebody says he is God, we have to really check whether he can lift the Govardhan hill like Krishna did, or show the universal form that Krishna can show. And the fourth reason, Arjuna wants to substantiate Krishna's statement that Krishna not only theoretically and philosophically, but actually shows his form. And so many times he has given the theory that I'm everything, I'm the beginning of everything, I'm this, I'm that. But show it all in one go. And now, note that it's not when the Vishwarupa form is seen, it is happening right in the battlefield, and both armies are there. It is not that everybody in the army are able to see the Vishwarupa form. And Krishna tells Arjuna, this form nobody has ever seen before. This form you see. But there are others who are witnesses to Arjuna seeing the Vishwarupa form, because they have also seen it along with Arjuna. Various demigods have seen it. And therefore, Krishna is coming up and openly showing him the Vishwarupa form. So Arjuna fulfills his responsibility because he is the beginning of the parampara. Why is Arjuna doing this? For all of us. Because of him, we are getting Bhagavad Gita. So he is the head of our parampara. He is the guru for all of us. Because of him only we get Bhagavad Gita, right? So he is called the head of the parampara, which is again referred to in verse 8. Let's go to verse 4. This will be the last shloka we will cover today. I'll go to a few stories after that. Manyase yadi tat shakyam.
Manyase yadi tatyam
Maya drishtumiti prabho.
Maya
drishtam
Drishtam
iti
Prabho
prabho.
Yogeshwara tato me tvam.
Yogeshwara
Ishvara
Tato Metvam
Darshayatmanam darshayatmanam avyayam.
Darshamanavayam.
Manya say, you think, yadi, if, tat, that, shakyam is able, maya, by me, drashtum, to be seen, iti, thus, prabho, O Lord, Yogeshwara, O Lord of all mystic power, tataha, then, may, unto me, tvam, you, darshaya, show, atmanam, yourself, avyayam, eternal. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. He's saying, if you think that I can behold it, many times we ask for something and we can't do it. Many times people say, okay, give me that job, give me that promotion, I'll do it. And they can't do it. So many times we think we can do something, but we don't have the capacity to handle it. So Arjuna says, I don't know how big this is. This universal form is very bewildering. It's very huge. If you think Krishna, I can see it. If you think I can see it, Krishna, if you think it's within my capacity to see it and not be too bewildered, then, and I can behold it, please show me that cosmic manifestation. Because you are the master of all mystic power, you can show it to me. So he's cajoling Krishna to slowly show that particular form. Purport. Anybody?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Anand.
It is said that one can neither see, hear, understand, nor perceive the Supreme Lord Krishna by the material senses. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord from the beginning, then one can see the Lord by revelation. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. Therefore, it is not possible to see or to understand the Supreme Lord. Arjuna, as a devotee, does not depend on his speculative strength. Rather, he admits his limitations as a living entity and acknowledges Krishna's inestimable position. Arjuna could understand that for a living entity, it is not possible to understand the unlimited infinite. If the infinite reveals himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite. The, the word Yogeshwara is also very significant here because the Lord has inconceivable power. If he likes, he can reveal himself by his grace, although he is unlimited. Therefore, Arjuna pleads for the inconceivable grace of Krishna. He does not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service. Thus, it is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their mental speculations to see Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So there are very, very important aspects in this particular purport. So it said that one can neither see, hear, or understand or perceive the Supreme Lord Krishna by material senses. We cannot understand him by our material senses. Krishna has to benedict us. That is called revelation. But one if is engaged in bhakti, then Krishna will allow us to see him. Okay? So for instance, with our own effort, we may not be able to go and see the Prime Minister of India. But if the Prime Minister wants to see us, instantly it will happen. So if Krishna desires to see us, then it can happen. If Krishna desires to give me the capacity to understand him, it can happen. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. So we cannot understand, see the Supreme Lord. Arjuna is a devotee. He does not depend on a speculative strength, but he admits his limitations very clearly. He knows that man is imperfect, we have limitations, and so he is now requesting Krishna. So it is not possible for us as limited to understand the unlimited, infinite. But if Krishna decides to reveal himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite, by the mercy of the infinite, by the mercy of Krishna, we can understand Krishna. Otherwise, we can't understand anything about Krishna. That's a very important part here. Because he is Yogeshwara, he can reveal himself by his grace. So Krishna is therefore, Arjuna is therefore pleading, "Oh Krishna, if you think it is suitable for me, you can show me." He's pleading, begging. He's not giving Krishna orders. "Hey, Krishna, come in front of me. Let me see whether I can see your inconceivable form." No. And Krishna is also not obliged to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness. Many times in the past, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Only bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha." Only by devotional service can I be seen as I am, Krishna will say later. Bhaktya mam abhijanati, only by bhakti. So by only bhakti, devotional service, can we get the benediction, and Krishna will reveal himself to us. That is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their own mental speculation. Sometimes we think, "Oh, I will analyze, I will study, naiti, naiti, not this, not that." In that deductive process, we cannot achieve Krishna, but we can achieve Krishna easily through surrendering unto him as we follow the Bhagavad Gita, follow the words of Krishna, or follow the Vaishnava or the Guru. Then we will have a capacity that Krishna will provide us, so that we are able. When you join a company, you have to do some special activity. The company gives you training. It says how you should do. When they build that capacity in you, then you will be able to do it. So you can only ask for the job. So here Arjuna is asking the Lord and pleading, and the Lord can benedict him, can opt to give him a benediction. So while the Lord will himself explain in the next verses from now onwards, he will say, "Hey, Arjuna," sorry. So Krishna will say, the Supreme Person of God said, "My dear Arjuna, son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. Yes, you can see it." Then he says, "Oh, best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before." He says, "Oh Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see, and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything moving and non-moving is here completely in one place." And then he says, "But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence." We'll come to this shlok, Divyam Dadame Chakshuhu. We'll come to this next class. But today I'm going to tell you the 5 forms of the universal form, that 5 times that Krishna showed the universal form. So just to cover the verse number 4, Arjuna pleads and does not order Krishna. And the qualifications to see the Lord's form is only by revelation. So Arjuna requests, and not possible by mental speculation or perception of material senses. Arjuna admits his limitations as a living entity and acknowledges Krishna's inestimable position. And the Lord is addressed as Yogeshwara to point out his inconceivable potencies by which infinite can reveal to the finite. Yoga Ishvara, you are the Lord of everything. So you can enable me to see that form and behold it. So Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself until one fully surrenders in Krishna consciousness and engage in transcendental loving service. In the next 4 verses that we will cover next week, 5, 6, 7, and 8, Krishna then gives a description of his own universal form in summary, and then he will start to explain everything. But now, let us get on. Before this, today, I'm just stopping at 4, but I'm going to tell you 5 places or 5 times that Krishna showed the universal form. It's very, very important. Very nice. It's a very nice article also that one of our great disciples of Srila Prabhupada has written. It's called The Universal Form, Its Revelations and Implications. So very beautifully, the universal form, you see various pictures of the universal form here that is described. And then, there's just a discussion. Because sometimes we think, "Oh, I'm God." Very easy, people think I'm God. People think he's God. People think this person is God. He can create light, he can create water, he can bring some object by some siddhi power He's able to bring something. He is able to show some magic, and that magician becomes God. Astrologer becomes God. Medical doctor becomes God. So we can very easily assign the God title to so many people. But actually, God is very, very unique. So I want to, come up with, introducing what universal form of Krishna is. You see the universal form with so many heads and all the acts that are shown here, we'll get to a better picture, right? But I would like to say here, Krishna says Virat Rupa I'm showing, and Arjuna is asking to see the Virat Rupa for various purposes. So Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam has got many places where Krishna is showing the various universal form. So keep in mind, there are 5 times that Krishna shows the universal form. In the Dashama Skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is after Krishna is born. And when Krishna is born, and just one day as a child, Krishna is just lying down. Yashoda Maya is looking at the beauty of Krishna, looking at the beautiful face of Krishna. She is enjoying as the child is sleeping. Actually, we say that we should not take a photo of a child who is sleeping. We should not enjoy the child when the child is sleeping. But here Yashoda is looking at the child when the child is sleeping. As the child is sleeping, very casually, the child is yawning. As the child is yawning, Yashoda happens to look within the mouth of the child, and Yashoda saw within the mouth of the child the heaven and earth, stars, oceans, continents, all moving and non-moving things. And later on also she saw it again. Second time she sees it when Krishna is doing a lot of naughty things. Here Krishna is just too small, and as he is lying down and sleeping in his bed, he's yawning, and Mother Yashoda happens to see, and she sees the universal form of Krishna. At another time, when all the other boys are complaining to Yashoda that Krishna is eating mud, at that time Yashoda says, "Hey Krishna, today I've caught you red-handed. Open your mouth, let me see." Krishna says, "Ha ha ha!" As he opens his mouth, Yashoda is bewildered. She immediately sees the entire universe inside the mouth of Krishna, the entire Brahmanda. She sees the entire creation. She sees so many universes, and within one universe, she sees Yashoda herself and Krishna standing and opening his mouth too. So Yashoda is bewildered. So Yashoda gets to see 2 of these Vishwarupa forms of Krishna. When Krishna opened his mouth wide by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his mouth all the moving and non-moving entities, outer space, all directions, along with mountains, islands, oceans, surface of the earth, the blowing wind, fire, moon, and the stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, sky, and creation by transformation of Hankara. She also saw the senses, the mind, the sense perception, and 3 qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. She saw the time allotted for the living entities. She saw natural instinct and reactions of karma, and she saw desires and different varieties of bodies, moving and non-moving, seeing all these aspects of cosmic manifestation along with herself. And Vrindavana Dhama, she became doubtful and fearful of her son's nature. Then she thought, who is this? Is this my son? Being a gentle devotee who relishes an intimate relation with Supreme, Yashoda, like Arjuna, preferred to see him in his adorable, original 2-armed form of Krishna. She felt afraid of seeing that universal form in Krishna's mouth. And when she thought about, I want to see my Krishna, my baby Krishna, the universal form establishes Krishna's godhood for those on a rudimentary level of spirituality. So it is not the ultimate. Do not think that the Vishwarupa form is the ultimate. This 2-handed form of Krishna is meant to be the ultimate. So the philosophical underpinnings of this truth are found sporadically in the first 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is revealed that the universal form is temporary manifestation of the Lord that embodies all created things. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.30. So, in this place you see Yashoda wanting to see, open the mouth of Krishna when all the other boys are standing there. They have complained that Krishna ate mud, and Yashoda sees everything. And why would the Lord show his form to superior devotees like Arjuna and Yashoda? They are already superior devotees. Why should he show? The answer is simple, as Prabhupada states. Through them, Krishna would reveal the fact of his godhood to future generations of non-believers and skeptics. hoping to give them faith. And after showing the form to Mother Yashoda on these two occasions, many years passed before Lord Krishna would show it again. The third instance that Krishna showed is not the time that Krishna showed to Arjuna. Now that's the story I'm going to quickly tell you. And this is from Mahabharata. Just give me a quick minute. And I don't know how many of you have read Mahabharata, but it is very important we all read Mahabharata. We all read Ramayana. And in Mahabharata, it is called Udyoga Parva. So here, we all know that in Mahabharata, there is a war that's happening between Kauravas and Pandavas. We know that the Pandavas were usurped from their kingdom and the Pandavas were kicked out. They went for Ajnatavas. They had to live in the forest for many, many years. Then, when they are coming back, Krishna is trying to negotiate for them some patch of land. He goes to them, and Duryodhana and the others say, to hell, they get nothing. Okay, not even the size of a drop of a pin. That much of land also I will not give it to them. Krishna said, they are also Kshatriyas. Give them a patch of land, let them be there and let them survive. And Duryodhana said, no way, nothing at all. In that situation, the war, the scene of the war was setting into place. So people were already thinking about the armies and this and that. And as they were all doing this, again, there was a discussion here to say that, can I go? And again, the people requested Krishna, why don't you go as a messenger again and go and try and request? So Krishna goes. Krishna is well received by various people, Vidura and the others. And Duryodhana outwardly says, hey, Krishna, welcome. And he gives a big welcoming to Krishna. And then after all that, Krishna is coming to talk. And there's arguments. The entire court of Dhritarashtra is there. Dhritarashtra is sitting. Duryodhana is there. And when Krishna comes, Duryodhana has already tried that at the time. He has already thought about, if Krishna comes this time, if Krishna is going to be the troublemonger, he's going to create trouble, let's finish Krishna off. That's the thought of Duryodhana. He does not know who is Krishna. So many people knew that Duryodhana had that mentality. So when Krishna is coming and says, come on, why do you want to unnecessarily create so much of difficulty? Let me read out some parts of Mahabharata for you all. Beautiful story would come out there, right? So Vidura had also noted Duryodhana's instructions. Rising from his seat, Vidura went to Dhritarashtra. O king, your son's time has come. They are preparing to do which cannot be done. Nobody can kill Krishna. And because the warriors, when Dhritarashtra was explaining to Duryodhana, why don't you give them something? Duryodhana and Karna and all these Dushashna, they all walked out of the assembly without hearing the instructions. Disregarding the king, who was Dhritarashtra, they walked out. So at that time, Vidura is saying, they are preparing to do what they cannot do. Even so, it is sinful beyond all limits to contemplate. Because Krishna has come here as a messenger. You can't even try to kill a messenger. Even that's sinful, you can't even do it. Standing against Krishna, they will die like worms falling into fire. He will send them all to Yamaraja's abode as a lion destroys a flock of sheep. So here Vidura, the brother of Dhritarashtra, goes and tells Dhritarashtra. Krishna laughed. Krishna was there because these boys had gone out. Krishna was still there. Krishna was sitting there and he laughed. Let them try. Maybe this is how this problem will be solved. But do not worry. I will do nothing for which I can be sincere. Although I could slay them all outright, I will not do so. In any event, they have already been killed by their own sinful desires. Because these people had sinful desires, Krishna says, they've already been killed. It's just time. And don't worry, I won't kill them. But I know how to take care of myself. By coveting Yudhishthira's wealth, they have weakened themselves and will soon be ruined. Because they've taken devotees' wealth, they will be ruined. O king, let Duryodhana do as he likes. This is very important. Even as ethical businessmen, we need to be very careful that we don't covet others' wealth. We don't take others' property and misuse them. Make undue profit out on others. It is sinful. We need to make profits to survive, but don't make undue profits. When Krishna stopped speaking, Dhritarashtra's voice boomed through the court. Bring my wicked son here at once and bring his ministers with him. I will again try to bring him to the path of righteousness. They had already left fighting with Dhritarashtra. He says, please go and bring them again. I'll try to convince them somehow. Once again, Duryodhana was brought back into the hall. He entered with Karna and Dushashana just behind him. Again, he strode across the hall and took his place. Dhritarashtra was angry. Now, Dhritarashtra is trying to convince his son. Oh, you of inhuman conduct and extreme sinfulness, having as your support only men of small deeds, you want to perpetrate an act that is too difficult to accomplish and that is heinous beyond limit. Like a child wanting to hold the moon, you desire to capture the lotus-eyed Krishna. All virtuous men would condemn you. Anyway, it is not possible for you to carry this through. Even the gods could not take Keshava prisoner. Oh fool, give up your absurd notions and come to your senses immediately. That is Dhritarashtra, his father, telling Duryodhana. Duryodhana was seething with anger. He said nothing. He had already ordered his men to come into the hall as soon as Krishna rose to leave. He said, when Krishna gets up to leave, attack him, kill him. Everyone else may be afraid of the Yadava, but he was not. The prince glanced across at Krishna, who sat smiling and at ease. Soon everyone would see his actual strength. Vidura, clearly remembering how Kurus had violated Draupadi, could not stand the thought of Krishna receiving similar treatment in the small hall. He spoke again, trying one last time to influence Duryodhana. Now here what happened is Duryodhana made a special place for Krishna. He knew Krishna is going to come. He made a special place for Krishna on which, on his instruction, the floor can buckle down and Krishna can fall down. And he can kill him also. Oh Bharata, listen as I remind you once more. Now this is Vidura saying. Listen as I remind you once more of the many demons who have tried and failed to overpower Krishna. The hugely powerful Naraka, who was the son of Earth Goddess herself, lived for thousands of years surrounded by his vast forces. Krishna killed him easily. Narakasura Vada, Diwali is celebrated for that. He also destroyed five-headed Mura, who struck fear into the hearts of the gods. When he was a child, he killed Putana and the evil wizards Arista and Denuka. When he was only 7 years old, he held Govardhana hill aloft in one hand. Vidura named various other asuras and kings whom Krishna had defeated. Finally, he said, Krishna is the doer of everything, and he is the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. From him comes all power and opulence. He can do anything without the least effort. O Duryodhana, you do not understand Govinda. His prowess is incomparable, and it will reduce you and your followers to ashes. Attempting to take him prisoner is ludicrous and extreme. Ludicrous in the extreme. That's Vidura. Now Krishna looks at Duryodhana and Krishna says or thinks, O Kaurava, out of folly, you think me to be alone and vulnerable because I've come alone with no weapons, with nobody else. I've just come in as a messenger with no weapons. Oh, one of small intellect, see now as I show you the truth. Here are all the Pandavas, the Vrishnis and the Andakas. Here too are the gods, Adityas, Rudras, Vasus and great rishis. Duryodhana could take no more. He jumped up and pointed at Krishna. He said, seize him now. Capture Krishna. At once his soldiers began running into the hall from all entrances. With swords and bows at the ready, they closed in on Krishna. Krishna laughed. And as he did, his body suddenly flashed like lightning. He began to grow in size, and various gods issued from him. Various devatas came from his body. Brahma sprang from his forehead, Shiva from his chest, the Lokapalas sat on his arms, the Agni appeared from his mouth, Indra and the Maruts appeared along with hosts of Gandharvas, Yakshas and Rakshasas. From his two eyes came Balarama and Arjuna, who stood on his left and right sides. Behind him stood Yudhishthira, Bhima, and the twins Nakul and Sahadev. And behind them were the Vrishnis and Andakas, headed by Pradyumna. Krishna's mace, discus, and club weapons appeared, blazing brilliantly. His pores emanated light, sparks, and cloud of smoke. The sight was so frightening that almost everyone in the assembly closed their eyes. Who could see this? Bhishma, Drona, Vidura, and Sanjaya were the only one who could look up to Krishna as he manifested his universal form. The rishis also gazed upon him, folded their palms and offered prayers. The sky resounded with celestial drums, and flowers showered from the heavens into the hall. Duryodhana and Karna and Dushashana, they could only see it as light. They could not see the universal form of the Lord. Sanjaya described the event to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya, as he is explaining to Arjuna now, we will see later, Sanjaya is explaining the event to Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra is blind. Dhritarashtra said, "Hey Krishna, you are ever doing good for the world. Therefore, it is right that you should bless me also with the eyes to see your form. O best of the Yadavas, I pray for the sight to see you." Dhritarashtra is getting a discount here. Dhritarashtra says, "Hey Krishna, please show me eyes, give me eyes to see your form. O Kuru leader, let your eyes have sight. Divyam dadamite chakshu," like he tells Arjuna later. He says, "I'm giving you that special eyes by which you can see me." Krishna replied, and immediately Dhritarashtra could see him standing within the great hall. He also saw numerous gods approaching Krishna and worshipping him with Vedic mantras. Outside the hall, a fierce wind blew. Huge waves moved over the ocean, and thunderclaps, tsunami happened, and thunderclaps reverberated in the sky. The earth trembled. The hall was in tumult. Krishna withdrew his mystical form and again assumed a two-armed form. Taking permission from the rishis, he left the hall, holding the hands of Satyaki and Kritavarma, his two friends. He held them and he started to leave. The rishis, headed by Narada, rose from their seats and vanished. Their minds astonished, Dhritarashtra again became blind and he sat in silent amazement. Then, as Krishna left, the Kurus, the Kauravas, also followed him with folded hands. But Duryodhana, like the other god following Indra, only Duryodhana and his ministers remained seated. They were struck with wonder and unable to do or say anything. Dumbfounded they were. Their plan to capture Krishna was obviously futile. Outside the hall, and Krishna was just walking out of the hall, what happens? Outside the hall, the natural disturbances had stopped and a gentle breeze blew. Krishna mounted his chariot and prepared to leave. As he was out of the hall, led by Vidura, he went up to Krishna and said, Vidura said, "You have seen the influence I wielded over my sons," Dhritarashtra says. Dhritarashtra, is holding Vidura's hands and he goes out when Krishna is going into the chariot. And he says, "Hey Krishna, you've seen my level of influence on my sons. I could not convince him. Don't tell me later that I did not try. Don't blame me. Oh Janardana, you have seen everything. Nothing has been hidden from you. It is not proper for you to blame me, O Keshava, for I desire only peace. I had no wicked intentions against the Pandavas. You have heard me speak to Duryodhana and seen his response. I have done my best." The Kuru elders surrounded Dhritarashtra. Krishna looked at all of them and said, "You have also witnessed everything, how that uncultured man walked out even as he was receiving instructions meant for his good. You have also heard the ruler of the earth state that he is powerless. That is, even Dhritarashtra, the ruler of the earth, has stated he is powerless. With your permission, I will now return to Yudhishthira." Krishna sat down with Satyaki and Kritavarma on either side of him. Daruka, Krishna's charioteer, urged on the horses and the chariot moved off. The Kurus watched it move along the broad highway. Cheered on all sides by the crowds of citizens, Krishna ordered Daruka to take him back to Vidura's house. He wanted to speak once more to Kunti. So he goes, and because Kunti was living with Vidura, he goes, meets Vidura, he speaks with Kunti, and Kunti says, "Please, Yudhishthira can bow out because he's a very gentleman. He'll bow out of the war. Please ensure that Yudhishthira does not back out." Then again, reminding Krishna of the prophetic voices that had foretold great things for her sons at their births, Kunti said, "Let it be as the divine oracles predict. Oh Krishna, my sons must now fulfill their destiny and take control of this earth. They will now achieve it through peaceful means, nor can Draupadi's honor be restored unless my sons fight. For me, this is the most compelling reason for war. They must avenge their wife. They have not freed themselves of that obligation. They failed to protect her in the vicious assembly at the dice game. They must now rectify this wrong." Kunti bowed down, touched Krishna's feet with her hands. Kunti is the aunt of Krishna. Imagine. She bows down and touches Krishna's feet with her hands. Standing again, she says, "O Keshava, tell my sons that I am well. Go on now on your auspicious way." Krishna stood up to leave. After walking respectfully around his aunt, he walked around his aunt. He bid farewell and left the room. Outside, he found Bhishma and other Kuru leaders waiting to see him off. Krishna bowed before them, exchanged farewells, mounted his chariot with Satyaki, and he headed out of Hastinapur. The Kurus watched as the chariot sped towards the city's southern gate. Urged on by Dharuka, Krishna's horses seemed to leap into the sky, and again, in a short time he was out of sight. The Kuru chiefs turned and headed towards the king's palace. Krishna's peace mission had failed. War was certain. And after this comes the basic aspect of the war. Now, I have to tell you, the first was Yashoda seeing the universal form in the yawning mouth of Krishna as Krishna was a baby. Second was Yashoda seeing the universal form when Krishna was eating mud, and Yashoda said, "Show me your mouth." And the third was this particular form that Krishna showed in the assembly of the Kurus. The fourth was when Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna in the midst of the battlefield, that we are going to cover next week and a few weeks from there on. That's the fourth. And he shows the fullest form of the Vishwarupa. And what is the fifth? Let's quickly cover the fifth and close it. It's not a very big story, right? Now, the fifth and the final revelation. After the Lord manifested his universal form, okay, to Arjuna, and the war is all over, everybody, the Kaurava side is all killed, Bhishma is lying down, Bhishma has also left his body and gone, Yudhishthira is already enthroned, and Krishna is now leaving to go to Dwaraka. As Krishna is heading to Dwaraka, on the way, Daruka, that is his charioteer, Krishna asks him, stop, because Krishna has a friend, a rishi, called Uttanka. And this Uttanka was there, and when Uttanka was there, Krishna started to talk. They start to talk. Uttanka said, Krishna, it is completely within your control. You are God. It is within your control. You had all the powers to stop the war. Why did you not stop the war? He's accusing Krishna here. With your yogic powers, you are Yogeshwara. With your yogic powers, why did you not stop the war? But Krishna told him that, such a curse would be ineffectual. Oh, sorry. He said, because you did not stop the war, he's saying, I am going to curse you. This is Uttanka telling Krishna that I am going to curse you because you had it within your capacity and you did not stop the war from happening. Krishna told him, listen, such a curse will be ineffectual since I am God and I am the source of all mystic powers. Uttanka doubted that Krishna was powerful enough to avert the curse. So he challenged him, is it so? Are you the universal Lord himself? If so, please prove it to me. And when Uttanka was in that mood of giving curse, Krishna then manifested himself, his Virat Rupa again. Uttanka was particularly blessed, for the Mahabharata tells us that he saw the same vision that Krishna had previously shown to Arjuna. So he saw the fullest form that Arjuna saw. Awestruck, Uttanka glorified Krishna's many superlative attributes. And as in the instances of Yashoda and Arjuna, beseeched him to withdraw his overwhelming manifestation. So from the universal form, he wanted to see Krishna again in his two-handed form again here. Krishna did so and then offered Uttanka a boon. He gave Uttanka what boon? He said, whenever there is a need for water, if you need water, you will get it whenever you desire. So this is a boon that Krishna gave. From when he averted a curse that he was getting upon himself, and he gave Uttanka a boon instead. The odd boon made sense when some years later Uttanka found himself in a desert, almost dying of thirst. He was relieved when rain clouds mysteriously appeared, supplying water in the moment of need. Even today, sometimes when there is drought-like conditions and suddenly Megha comes, it's called the Uttanka Megha, Uttanka clouds. So this is very beautiful. There are a few other instances of where the Lord showed the Virat Rupa, like in the Vamana form. Okay, that's not the fullest form like here. And also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supposed to have shown a form like that. But then there's a very important verse here. In the United States, chapter 11 refers to bankruptcy. He say he filed for chapter 11. And in the Gita, chapter 11 implies a kind of bankruptcy, the spiritual bankruptcy of those who would claim to be God. If someone claims to be God, that is a spiritual bankruptcy. So, having said that, let me close the 5 stories here. We talk about the spiritual bankruptcy of those who claim to be God. So let's be very careful. If somebody says, Srila Prabhupada used to say it very boldly, somebody says, I'm God, call him the Ulta of God, which is G-O-D. Put it Ulta, it becomes D-O-G. He is nothing but a dog. But if we ourselves say, I'm a dog of Krishna, I'm a servant of Krishna, and we have this Kantimala, it is like a license chain. You know, when you have pet dogs in house, you have to have this particular, chain on the neck. So like that, when we say we are dogs of Krishna, then we know and we can understand and we can get the mercy of God. But if we want to be envious of Krishna and we say, I'm God, then we will reach nowhere. So we need to be very careful about it. That's one. And for the benefit of all of us, Krishna is showing this, but the universal form is not ultimate. So that's what we have learned today. Sorry, I've taken beyond time, but these stories were very important. Mahabharata, ISKCON have a beautiful print of Mahabharata book. Everyone should have a book like this. You should read the full Mahabharata. The very intricate parts of Mahabharata will come about. And we should read Ramayana, we should read Mahabharata, we should read the Bhagavad Gita, we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's all very important. Over. Any questions, any comments on today's class, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Are we allowed to keep Mahabharata at home? Because when I was a small kid or young boy, I was told that we should not keep Mahabharata at home. The two brothers will fight. So just want
So
to.
there are various such misnomers to say that I keep Mahabharata at home, and Bhagavad Gita itself is part of Mahabharata, so they will tell you don't keep Bhagavad Gita also at home.
Oh, that.
Right? Understand? Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, right?
Yes.
So within the Mahabharata war is where Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Point number two, I've heard two other misnomers. In South India, they will say don't keep Krishna and don't keep Krishna's flute. So many times they'll keep a Krishna Vigraha, they'll take off the flute. They'll say Krishna will blow away all your wealth and riches with his flute.
Yes, I've heard it. I've heard it.
And the other thing they will say is don't keep too many scriptures in your house. If there's too much of Saraswati, Lakshmi will not be there. These are all, let us not worry about it. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhruva Nitihi Matir Mama. Where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, there is righteousness, there is success, and there is everything. If we believe in that statement of Bhagavad Gita, we should have it. Right? So do not worry about it.
I already have, but I'm hiding. I already have, but I'm hiding. Now I'll keep open.
If you can't keep Mahabharata, you can't keep Bhagavad Gita. But you can keep all the war fiction movies you can watch at home. You bring fiction movies and you watch all the husband and wife fighting in all the movies. That is all okay. Yeah? But you can't have Mahabharata. That's all nonsense.
Thank you.
People just do not want to read the scriptures. That's the story.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
Fantastic class. So I was very curious about the universal form and those 5 stories. 2 we knew from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but the Utanka and the forgot about the Duryodhana. It happened in that time. So fantastic.
I'll send you that article on email or on WhatsApp, so all of you can read the whole thing once more. It's very, very good to keep. I was just saving it for this particular chapter. Because many people have the feeling that, Vishwarupa is ultimate. People cannot imagine that the mere two-handed form of Krishna can be God. They want to see something extraordinary, right? So, if suddenly they go to Expo 2020 and they see Sheikh Mohammed coming in, say, such a simple man. I didn't think he's just as simple as that. You'll see that hardly anybody is walking around with him. He walks so simple. Like that. When people, see somebody big, they want to see somebody looking big. So Vishwarupa fits that particular image of theirs. Either they say Vishwarupa or they say no form at all, but they can't believe that a simple Saumya Vapu form as a simple boy, as a cowherd boy, cannot be God.
So, and that is interesting, right? While people the hype is created and people want to see that particular, but they can't behold. Right, they can't talk. They just can't behold. Even if they have to live with a prime minister or a ruler, and the prime minister ruler walks with the opulence, the next day we will complaining, the traffic stops, this stop, that stop. Can you be please normal? So that is the beauty, right?
True.
While we challenge, while we aspire, but we can't behold.
Here you saw that people like Duryodhana and Karna could not even see the form. But Krishna gave the form to Dhritarashtra because that is called revelation. And Krishna wants to give, then we can get it. The Damodar story is coming in. I just want to say a couple of minutes. From the 22nd is the month of Damodar. So next week I'll do a class from here. Next week Vijayadashmi is also on the 15th. Okay, it's a good day to also start learning something. So we are regularly learning. But Damodar month, I'm thinking that we will start to gradually, I will start to move to different houses to do the class. So some of you who want to come along, we can. We also go to different houses to do the Damodar Aarti. We restrict to only 30 people who can come to different houses. And maybe the same class, same time, I will do it from different locations of different houses. We can do that also. Let's think.
Yes, that would be nice. Hare Krishna, fantastic class.
Thank you very much, Matanuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for many of you who are newcomers here today. I hope it was not an over push, and whatever is recorded today, I will also send it on the WhatsApp to all of you. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, blessings, please do. We have every Friday classes now between 11 and 2 at the Regent School. This Friday also we will have. This Friday, we're going to have a session coming Friday on the 15th, and we will end up with a full-fledged, like a spiritual Garba. If you are interested, you are also welcome to join. I'll send you the posters. Any comments, questions, please.
Thank you very much, Shri Vallabh Prabhu. Your presentation is very nice. Nice presentation. It's a very, very amazing class.
All from the scriptures from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I was watching this Krishna serial long back, and there was a battle with Banasur. Even after that also, because in that serial, so I'm quoting that serial basically, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also come and they request that they would like to see the same Vishwarupa form of Lord again. So I don't know whether how TV serial shows truth or what. But it was good to know that these were the 5 times. So I thought maybe I'll just refer that instance as well.
I will check whether there was any other Vishwarupa there, but I don't believe so.
Yeah, okay. After the battle of Banasur, it was shown. So this was in the serial because that was the last battle. It was told that after that Lord Krishna said, my responsibility for which I came to this world are more or less now over, and now I will proceed back to my heavenly abode, and then we'll sit there in Golok. Yeah.
Okay. Noted. I will do a check on that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you
Hare
very, very
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna, Maitri ji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prashant ji. Thank you all. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantraha Tasya Namanyani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva Tumeva Mata Cha Pita Tumeva Bandhuscha Saka Tumeva Vidya Dravinam Tumeva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Katyayani Mahamayi Mahayogini Dishwari Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi Patimme Kurute Namaha Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Dasoham Krishna Tavasmi Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.